Hello, Brent Johnson with Firewise Consultants. It is part of our core mission to be continually providing education and raising awareness within the passive fire protection industry. Another hot topic we get asked a lot to help properly design or unfortunately problem solve is dealing with backpan construction as it relates to perimeter fire containment. If you haven't seen backpan before, it comes in all different types of shapes and sizes, hypothetically, but it's going to be an aluminum or steel pan on the inboard side of our non-rated facade in the building. Now, most installers and inspectors may focus the attention on properly installing the materials within the safing slot as we see here. The code requires us to maintain interior fire protection for the rating of the floor out to the non-rated exterior. So in this case, I have an aluminum backpan that is non-rated with insulation behind it. I need to make sure these materials in the safing slot, whatever they may be, this is not finished, this is just showing mineral wool, protect interior fire transfer from the floor above into the floor below to the floor above. So we're trying to make sure we're stopping fire from jumping interior floor to floor. That's a key thing to remember because these materials in that safing slot are only as good as the exterior. If the exterior is non-rated and it does not hold for the 2 hours, let's say, that are needed, it falls off the building, and with it goes all our pretty materials that are in the safing slot. So we cannot be focusing our inspection only on the safing slot. We want to verify, number one, what listed system per ASTM E2307 is being utilized in this construction. Number two, what is the backpan built out of, and how are all the materials behind it installed and inspected? So what we also want to verify, number three, is, well, how is it attached to the floor? This is a hotter item we're seeing more and more questions about, where the mounting bracket of that non-rated facade is attached to the concrete floor, and as this photo shows, it's a face-mounted bracket. Okay, Brent, I see that a lot. That's not a big issue. That's very common. Well, the issue we're trying to stress here, especially with backpan, is look at this large notch in the backpan that was cut out for the mounting bracket, but also I see the insulation right here, and I have a nice big void where I can stick my hand through and touch the exterior behind the insulation on the outside of the building. Is that acceptable? It's a great question to refer back to our inspection document, which would not be the product data. It needs to be the listed system or approved engineering judgment along with our applicable installation instructions of these materials. So I need to dig a little bit deeper to verify what's going on here. So this is kind of a hot item I like to point out to say, back up a second, verify what the mounting bracket is, where it's attached, and how the insulation is supposed to be applied around it within our inspection documents. As you can see, you're having a large void, probably doesn't match the listing. But let's take it one step further. Let's take a look at an actual backpan listed system. There are plenty out there. I pulled one up that was utilized in this installation. This is an Intertech listing. It's acceptable. There are multiple laboratories that test to ASTM E2307, which is what the code talks about. Has the F ratings, has the L ratings, movement, all different applications that we may need on our project. But let's focus in on the drawing for a second. It does have a backpan on the inboard side. It does have insulation behind that backpan. And then it talks about 2D, some sort of potential attachment mechanism. And if I zoom in a little bit further, you're going to see that it has impaling pins. 12 gauge steel pins, a ½ inch longer than the insulation, attached to the backpan in 2 rows, 12 inches on center. So a big misconception we like to stress in the industry is that insulation on the exterior non-rated facade, the majority of the time per the approved inspection document, is going to be mechanically fastened. So the word impaling pin to me is not friction fit or taped or glue pinned or epoxy, any sort of attachment. That is a mechanical attachment to the backpan. Well, let's take it one step further. Brent, I use aluminum backpan. That's what the architect wanted. Well, this listed system that was selected says the word steel right there. So if I have an aluminum backpan, I have another deficiency before I even started my installation. It talks about the type of backpan, how the backpan may need to be applied. Then it finally gets into the curtain wall installation. As you can see here, nominal 3-inch thick 8 PCF mineral insulation secured with the impaling pins and steel clinch shields listed above. Now that's another catch where our design professional or insulation requirements may only require a 2-inch insulation. In this case, we need at least 3. So taking all steps of the design and tying them back into the listed system is going to be imperative for a successful installation. So if we go back to our photo, we also want to point out as a little zoomed in area, this photo was a potential deficiency because just looking at it, I can see the insulation, I can see my backpan, and I can see a gap between the two. We needed to have an impaling pin to mechanically fasten those two together. Well, just from eyeballing it here, I can see that that did not occur because there should be no air gap between the insulation in that pan. I also can see that very large void again, where I can see the pan on the exterior side of the building. Not saying that's wrong yet. I want to verify that to clarify with my manufacturer if that void is acceptable. When I come to install my material into that safing slot, what's it going to be compressing to right here? How does it get around the mounting bracket? All great questions to ask your manufacturer. So to back up, we're not saying that every listed system with backpan requires an impaling pin. There are a few newer listed designs out there that do allow potentially friction fitting of the material. But I want to stress I can count probably on one hand how many are currently out there. They're very limited and very specific to your design. So double checking those elements are going to be imperative to make sure our system matches up with our overall construction. So as a quick recap, I want to make sure number one, I verify the insulation type behind the pan, if it's an aluminum or steel pan, how that insulation is attached, how the insulation is treated around the mounting brackets. These are all steps that are going to be done prior to even looking at what's going on within the safing slot. Again, my name is Brent Johnson with Firewise Consultants. If you liked this kind of training and want to learn more about this type of construction or overall installation and inspection requirements and techniques, take a look at firestoptraining.com. Thank you again for your time, and if you have further questions or additional topics you'd like to learn more about like this, add it to this comment section below. Thank you.